Every single app you use right now, Instagram, Facebook, Airbnb, Netflix, they all have one thing in common. They are all built with React. And if you are a developer who does not know React yet, you are leaving the biggest opportunity in front-end development sitting on the table. Today, day one of our front-end architecture series, we are cracking open React from absolute zero. No assumptions. No prior knowledge needed. Just you, me, and the most powerful UI tool in the world. Let us get into it. So here is the thing. Building websites with plain HTML works. It genuinely works. For a while. But then your project grows. Your pages get more complex. You have buttons, counters, menus, user profiles, and suddenly you are writing the same pieces of code over and over again on every single page. Copy. Paste. Copy. Paste. And every time something changes, you have to hunt through hundreds of lines of HTML and manually update each one. That is not just annoying. That is a nightmare that scales into a monster. React was built to solve exactly that problem. And it does it in a way that is genuinely, beautifully elegant. That is why every major tech company uses it. That is why it has been the most wanted front-end skill on job boards for 7 years straight. Learning React is not optional anymore. It is the ticket. All right. Let us break React down. 3 big ideas today. What React actually is. The virtual DOM, which sounds scary but I promise it is not. And component-based thinking, which is the superpower that makes everything click. Let us go. Idea number 1. What is React? React is a JavaScript library built by Facebook, now Meta, and released to the world in 2013. Its one job, its singular obsession, is building user interfaces. Not servers. Not databases. Just the thing the user sees and clicks and interacts with. Now here is the analogy that made everything make sense for me. Think about Lego bricks. When you build with Lego, you create individual pieces, a window piece, a door piece, a roof piece, and then you snap them together to build a house. And here is the magic part. You can use that same window piece in 100 different houses. Build it once. Reuse it everywhere. That is React. You build small, reusable pieces called components, and you snap them together to build your entire application. Now contrast that with plain HTML. Plain HTML is like drawing every single Lego brick by hand, every single time you need one. Building a navigation bar on 3 pages? Draw it 3 times. Need to update the logo inside that nav? Update it in 3 places. Does that sound fun? Absolutely not. With React, you build that navbar once as a component, and you drop it into any page with a single line. One change updates everywhere. Everywhere. That is the core promise of React, and it is a promise it fully delivers on. Idea number 2. The virtual DOM. Okay. Deep breath. This is the one that makes beginners go cross-eyed, but stick with me because this is actually really cool. DOM stands for Document Object Model. It is basically the browser's live map of your web page. Every heading, every button, every paragraph, the browser keeps track of all of it in this structure called the DOM. Now, when something on your page changes, say a counter goes from 0 to 1, the browser has to go into that map, find what changed, and repaint that part of the screen. That process is expensive. It is slow. When you are doing it constantly with plain JavaScript, manipulating the DOM directly, it adds up fast and your app starts to feel sluggish. React's solution? The virtual DOM. And this is where it gets genuinely clever. React keeps a lightweight copy of the DOM entirely in memory. A virtual version. When something changes in your app, React first updates the virtual copy, compares it to what was there before, figures out the absolute minimum number of real changes needed, and then updates the actual browser DOM. Only the parts that changed. Nothing else. Here is the analogy. Imagine you are editing a Google Doc that 10 people can see live. Instead of retyping the entire document every time you fix a typo, Google just sends the tiny diff, just the changed word, to everyone. That is exactly what React's virtual DOM does. Surgical precision. Maximum speed. You do not have to code the virtual DOM yourself. React handles all of it under the hood. But knowing it exists tells you why React apps feel so fast and responsive. That is the virtual DOM, smart, efficient, and invisible. Idea number 3. And honestly, this one is my favorite. Component-based thinking. A component in React is just a JavaScript function that returns some HTML-like code. That is it. A function. It takes some input, it gives you some UI back. Let us make this real right now with our hands-on example. I want you to code along with this because seeing it written out makes everything click. Here is a counter built with plain HTML and vanilla JavaScript. We have got an HTML file, a button, a paragraph showing the count, and a script tag with some JavaScript that says, when the button is clicked, add 1 to the count and update the paragraph's text. Simple enough. But look at what that involves. We are manually grabbing the DOM element with query selector, manually reading the value, manually updating the text content. Every step is manual. Every step is us reaching into the page and moving things around by hand. Now here is the same counter in React. Look at the difference. In React, we write a component called counter. It is just a function. Inside it we have one line, useState, which is React's way of saying, hey, remember this value for me. We set count to 0. Then we return what looks almost like HTML, a button and a paragraph. And when the button is clicked, we just say setCount, count plus 1. That is it. React handles all the DOM updates automatically. No query selector. No manual text updates. Nothing. React just figures it out. And now here is the component superpower. Once you have built that counter component, you can drop it anywhere in your app with just this angle bracket counter, close it, done. Use it 10 times on 10 different pages. Each one works perfectly. Independently. Like Lego bricks snapping in. Now, 3 mistakes I see beginners make constantly when they first touch React. Mistake 1. Trying to learn React without knowing JavaScript basics first. React is JavaScript. If you are shaky on functions, arrays, and basic DOM concepts, spend 1 week on JavaScript fundamentals. It will save you weeks of confusion in React. Trust me. Mistake 2. Thinking components have to be huge. They do not. A button can be a component. An icon can be a component. Smaller is almost always better. Start small. Mistake 3. Directly manipulating the DOM inside React. Like using document.getElementById inside a React component. React sees that and basically says, excuse me, that is my job. Let React handle the DOM. That is the whole deal. Alright. Let us land the plane. React is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces using small, reusable pieces called components. It uses the virtual DOM to update your UI with surgical precision and speed. And it solves the copy-paste nightmare of plain HTML by letting you build once and reuse everywhere. That is React. That is why it matters. And we have only just started. Tomorrow we are setting up our very first React project from scratch, 0 to running app in under 10 minutes. You do not want to miss that. But before you go, drop your answer in the comments right now. Are you coming to React completely fresh, or have you tried it before and got confused? Tell me where you are starting from. I read every single comment and it shapes what we build next. See you tomorrow.